Hey y'all, welcome to Simple Conversations. This is KJ.
Hey, and it's Alice. So pause us for a minute, grab you something to drink, come back, sit down, and be a part of this conversation.
Because we have a lot to say. Welcome to Simple Conversations. So y'all, listen, this is our disclaimer. We're not here to give you any advice or tell you how to live your life.
Well, maybe just a little.
We're still trying to figure this thing out ourselves. Thanks for tuning in. Hey y'all, welcome to Simple Conversations, where grace meets strength. We're back here this morning with Alice, and we have a super exciting time together. Hey Alice.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm really good. Like, this is different because when we first started this podcast, we were in each other's presence.
We were.
And I really loved that. I loved seeing your face. I loved being in the same room. And then now we're doing Zoom. Yeah. And although you and I speak a couple times a week, it's good to see your face.
I agree. Same. Yep.
Yeah. So let's get this started. So we are a good time manager for this busy lady that we have on today. Y'all, we are in this series of amazing, courageous women. And I just am super excited about our guest today.
I am too. So I'm going to say this is a friend of mine. Her name is Karina Carter. Karina is the owner and CEO of CMS Mortgage Solutions. And she has been in this industry, you guys, for quite a while, since early 90s. She manages a couple different teams. She is, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. She's a badass and we love it.
That's right.
So we can just say that. And I'm going to let her tell us way more about her business and how she got started and all of the good stuff in this interview. So good morning, Karina.
Good morning, ladies. How are you? It is so good to see your lovely faces. It has been, like I was just saying, it's been a blur. Like the whole 2020 has been a blur. And we're like used to seeing the same faces over and over. And now we all got a little bit of cabin fever. And when we see someone, it's like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in years.
It does feel that way. It does.
It does. It's so odd how our day-to-day has changed drastically. Mm-hmm. And then when we go outside of what we consider our new norm, it's just totally different for us.
Yeah, I agree totally.
You look beautiful this morning, Karina.
Thank you, honey. Thank you. You get the privilege of seeing one day with hair.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's another thing with the pandemic. I think my makeup and hair products are going to last forever.
Forever. I know.
That's true. KJ and I were saying that this morning before you got on. I actually did hair and makeup today too, which I don't always do. But I have a client later today, and so I kind of had to get dressed. So
I have quite a few Zooms Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. So I usually pin it and go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So Karina, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am the president and CEO of CMS Mortgage Solutions. We're located on the corner of Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. We have been serving the Hampton Roads community for almost the past 25 years.
Wow.
15 years ago, I went out on my own, created what I consider my family team now that we have here at CMS. And I have been an independent mortgage broker for the past 20 years. So I really love serving the community, helping them get home ownership, providing affordable mortgages, and teaching people education about what they need to know, not just about home buying, but about their finances altogether. A little bit more about what their credit looks like, help with getting better rates on credit cards, help with getting better rates on homeowners. So we just give them a little bit more, I think, than your everyday lender will do as far as the education through the process. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. It's a little bit of taxing process buying a home. So some people just want to get it done, and some people want all the education in the world. I do feel like that's changing a little bit going to our millennials, as they didn't have the upbringing that we had of learning how to write a check in school, learning how to balance a checkbook in school, knowing really what it looks like for just not looking at your bank account, what you have in there, but what comes out. So it is different when you sit down and talk with people now than what we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We have a whole different breed of home buyers coming in as far as the millennials go. So you do work with them slightly different in the good, and a lot of texting,
So, Karina, I first met you when I worked with a real estate company. I was a personal development trainer with them, and you came in and did education with their agents. And
That is correct.
I love that, because I love education. Finance is not my strong suit by any level. I would always pass that off to my husband, and that's more his lane. He thinks that way better than I do. But I loved the information. And I can say firsthand that we have used you for our mortgage and for looking at our finances and all of that. And you are fabulous. And I never felt dumb in your presence. I'll say that. I never felt like you were talking down to me at all, even though that was way out of my league. And I loved that you wanted me to understand what and why.
I appreciate that. I say that you have to be relatable, right? I mean, whether it be, and I do have to be cautious. I have to be honest with millennials, because I am a mom and a grandma. So talking to the millennials first-time home buyers, I may come across a little bit more of a mama bear than I may to you, Alice. So
Sure.
I do have to be really careful there, because they're going to research everything I say. So actually, they put me almost more top of my game as well. But I appreciate that, because I do think, depending on who you're talking to, you do have to change as far as how relatable you are, or the information that you feel like they're seeking in, that they are taking in the information that you're giving, and that they're understanding as well too. And I will say this, not everybody feels like they need someone, I guess you could say, like you said, not talking down to them, but superior.
Right.
There are a lot of people who just want someone to be real with them. Tell me exactly what I need to know. Tell me exactly what to do, or also give me the good and give me the bad, and don't sugarcoat it. And in our business, part of it is sales. So part of the sales also goes along with, you are trying to gain a customer for life, a relationship for life, to be their advisor, whether it be mortgages, whether it be financial terms. So we also have to be careful there, because we don't want to be too salesy. And there's so many people that come to me and said, the last loan officer I worked with, or the last company I worked with, they just gave me a sales pitch, and that's not what I wanted. So that is one reason why I created my company, because I felt like, not only creating affordable mortgages, a place for someone to go that understood them, but the educational piece. And I've really thrived on that and built my company around making sure that our consumers are educated.
I think that's really good, Karina, because that's what sets your business apart, is that you are providing solutions, not just a mortgage, but you're providing a solution for people and their lives where they can, I mean, that's valuable. That's what you're providing to your customers and your clients is something that they can take from this day forward and use the rest of their lives. And that's the reason that you're able to create that relationship and then have customers that continue to come back to you with each time they sell a house, or if they have a question regarding their credit or finances. And I love that, because that's the reason why your business has thrived.
Oh, thank you, Kim. And one of the reasons I named my company CMS Mortgage Solutions was for that reason. I wanted them to have a solution to be able to understand where they were going. And when we went through our last, I guess you could say, pandemic for us in the mortgage industry in 09 and 10, I really opened up my filing cabinets at that time and saw how many families I worked with, how many Browns there were, how many Carters there were, how many families I worked with that were related. And, it really is an honor to be able to, that people pass me on as well. Like right now, the great thing about Facebook and Instagram and things is that I have people that I went to high school with who are sending me their kids, their grandkids, can you help them? Can you do this? What can we do as far as that goes? So that way, I'm educating them as well too. So it's a pretty good honor that I feel like that does get passed on. And that's the way people view me, because that's the way I wanted the company to be viewed.
That's wonderful. When word of mouth referral is the best form of residual business, right? When you have a client that trusts you, and now they send their brother and their cousin and their daughter and their neighbors. I mean, that's just that's how businesses thrive, especially in pandemics, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we want to stay alive and keep going and be able to come in the next day. That's why I miss seeing everybody's faces, because I feel like now I'm going to lose a little part of that, of like, if I'm out grocery shopping, or if I'm out just, in the streets, or I have to, someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, Karina, how are you?" And I have to really look really hard and try and figure out who they are, because this whole year has been a blur of not seeing anyone. Then I'm like, I know they were a customer of mine, you know what I mean? And getting older, you do forget more things. And I've had thousands of customers throughout my career, but I just was thinking about that. As odd as it may be, I used to have a friend who took Polaroid pictures of their clients. That's how far back I'm dated a little bit in this business, and stapled them to their folder. So when they would come in, he would be able to recognize them right away, or out in the street. And we have that a little bit with Facebook, but not as much, So until I feel like, until I get to know them a little bit more, and I want people to know and trust me without really trying to gain that relationship or sale, as I want to put it. So I do. I'm excited about the future and help keeping families together. And families are moving closer together. Families are living together. So working with their kids, or working with their cousin or their aunt. I mean, it's a very honor that someone actually shares me. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I have shared you with family because after our first experience, I so trusted you and still do. So I've referred you multiple times. And it's comfortable referring you, because I trust that whatever their experience is going to be, it's going to be as good as mine was.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm not perfect. I'm never 100%, but I sure do try.
Exactly. And exactly. I appreciate that. You have a new, I have noticed on social media, your platform has changed, and you have kicked it up big time with your educational videos. I love that.
Oh, thank you. I did that. I got a little kick in my rear. My son helps me run the company. And I will say he has really pushed me forward into the future. And I went outside my comfort zone. Luckily, the first week in February, right before the pandemic last year, and flew out to LA and shot 50 scenes and 50 different scripts with a specific company for 2 different, I guess you could say, campaigns. And it surely has kept me in front of people, and it wouldn't have been something I would have did on my own. And I had to really get a good kick, and it was really I out of my comfort zone, I can say, and very awkward. But I went in there that day and I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure it out. And I sat in front of the cameras. First time I've ever did anything like that, with a teleprompter, looking at all the campaigns and figuring out what I wanted to say, how I wanted to add my own script to it as well. And it really helped. So I appreciate that, because I will be honest, a lot of people are viewing it, and it is really, if you are not a person who is going to be dedicated on a daily basis, which I get off track with so many different tasks here at work that I can't just pick up the camera and be camera ready,
Right.
that is a perfect solution. And I have so shared that and my experience with so many others. Because the struggle is real at my age of picking up a camera and looking at myself and saying I look good enough to present to the public, and that does not happen every day.
I so feel you on that. So I do have a social media coach who I think is amazing. And so I've just started really dabbling, and she spent some time in my home over the holidays, and she took a bunch of footage. She was here when we did our Christmas pictures, and she did her own footage and videos, and she has put them together. And sometimes I can honestly tell you, sometimes I go on Instagram and I'm like, oh, look at that. That looks so good. And it's on my page. And I'm like, thanks, Heather. You did a good job. Like, I love it. I'm like, oh, look at that. Like, cause it's out of my, like, I just want to focus on content. I just want not on all the other things that matter to the people viewing it.
Yeah.
And she pays attention to all of that.
Yeah, and sometimes it can come off a little too much to some people.
Mhm.
But I thought, for me, the way that I was going, and God forbid, no planning, Alice, that I had no idea we were going to have a record-breaking year and a banner year, my biggest year ever in 23 years in 2020. I didn't think that. I didn't think I would never leave the office. I would have never picked up a camera. So it just happened to be proper planning. I went to LA, did it for a week. I came home deathly sick for 4 to 6 weeks because of that trip, got past it, and never looked back. And we were so slammed where I feel like that time that I went to do that was just like 2 weeks ago, probably, because that happened just like a blur. So I say to anybody, if you are unsure how to start, then do a campaign where you do it in one setting or 2 settings, and you do 5 to 10 scripts, whatever it may be that you involve, that you feel like you can do, and just knock it out. Because other than that, you're going to put yourself in a position where you feel like you're failing starting it,
Right.
where you start something and you don't finish it. Or in my case, you pick up the camera and no, not today. I don't look like it, or you feel like you got a lot to say, but again, you don't want to pick up the camera, or vice versa. You pick up the camera and then you don't know what to say.
Right.
So you just really have to write out those scripts. And I did some coaching in the past couple of years with Cheryl Tan. She is phenomenal. So I did some coaching with her. She helped get me prepared and a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera. What should I say? A lot compared to where I was, 4 years ago. But for just the set it and forget it, I did something a little different. And I appreciate you watching, because it did take a lot for me to come out of my comfort zone and feel like I could sit there in front of the camera and really educate people. And I can do it on the fly here and there, but just not, I'm just not quite as comfortable just picking it up every day like some people are.
What I think is most important, though, is that you are the kind of person that you want to provide solutions for other people. You want to educate them. And so no matter what, you were willing to get uncomfortable to do that. And that again is what sets you and your business apart from just any old mortgage broker on the corner, because you do want to educate, give people what they're looking for, show them where to look, tell them what to look for. And so getting out of your comfort zone was, in my opinion, I think it's wonderful, not to devalue that, because I promise you, I know how that feels. We just had a conversation just a few minutes ago of what I look like on the camera, right? But with all of that being said, what you're doing and the ripple effect of that campaign and you doing that has been far greater than you getting out of your comfort zone for people. And I just say that you probably have no idea the ripple effect that you are having on your and the influence on your circle of people. And so I appreciate that because
Oh, thank you.
absolutely, because look, again, most mortgage brokers are just trying to close the sale, and yeah, you need to close the sale because you're building a legacy for your family, but you also want to do it in a kind way that gives people what they're looking for, and you're a solution provider. So I just really love that. So what keeps you motivated?
Um, that's a unique thing. And actually, I'll tell you just a short story. This morning, I was running and running and running this morning, and I was going to come to work and walk in the morning. And I've been walking around the building. It's been so freezing in the morning, couldn't do it. And I was running out the door, and my sister is helping me a little bit with some executive things that I need help with as far as put my days together. We were so busy. And she said, "You're on time. You're not late." And I said, I told my grandson, and I've told him for years, if you're on time, you're late, right? So meaning you have to be early. So he said, my teacher used that with me one time, and I wanted to be to the office, be fresh, be prepared. And I just feel like part of that drive comes from being a young mom. And Alice will, we have a somewhat of a similar past, but not exactly the same. But being young moms and being in the position where my parents said, you're going to do this and you're going to do it on your own, or we're not going to do it for you. We're not going to help you. I mean, it was 17 with a 2-year-old and high school senior and my own apartment and 2 jobs. And my parents were like, no, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it yourself. So I feel like part of that is where it just really gave me a different drive starting from then to figure out how I was going to fend at such a young age for me and my daughter, and what we were going to do. Now, don't get me wrong, my parents helped now and then, but they absolutely were not the type of parents who kept my daughter while I worked. I had a babysitter for her up until the time she was 10. Up until the time she was 6 or 7, they really didn't keep her longer than a day or two together because that just wasn't their style. So there was, they really said, you're going to fend, and I had to fend. So I really think that's part of where I got my entrepreneurship from, is just figuring out there. And from there, I just said, one day I want to own my own company. I just want to own my own company. I feel like I want to be in control of my schedule. I feel like I want to, just be who I am and be able to offer that to other people as far as managerial skills, being a leader. And all that comes from, I really think, by my one mistake at 15 years old is getting pregnant, is real, is it drove my course of my life in a whole different direction than where I would have been had that not happened. Absolutely. So, I mean, the oddest things we think about is how we got here, and, how I got into mortgages. I got fired from my job because I wanted to go spend the weekend with my family because my nephew was flown to Northern Virginia and diagnosed with leukemia on the spot. And my boss said, if you walk out the door on the busiest weekend of the year, you will not have a job. And I walked out the door because I had to be there for my family, or I would not be sitting here talking to you guys. Right. And he literally called me and told me I did not have a job, and he played hardball with me. And I was like, I'm not playing this game with you. So fine, I need to be with my family. And I went to be with my family, and I got fired from my job. And 3 weeks later, my best friend said, I know a guy who's looking for someone to do some side work and, go look up some mortgage notes and get him some leads and do some paperwork for him. I was told, I don't know how to spell mortgages. What do you do? And that's how I got started. So there's things I think that are put in our path. One, me getting pregnant at such a young age. 2, my parents not helping me. And then 3 is me getting fired from my job, or I would not be sitting here talking to you guys. So, I mean, those are 3 definite things that changed everything that I do about my life daily. So, but it does take a drive to get up and come. And then the part of fending for your family is, what does that feel like? We are living in a world where women are accepted of fending for their family, being the supporter. We are still, in some courses not equal, in some courses devalued, but at the same time, it's okay. And I support 4 generations right now with my income. So therefore, I feel I have to get up. I have to do it. And I don't know if that's, exactly where all of it comes from, because both of my parents were always hard workers. They were both pretty stubborn and always hard workers, but they were never entrepreneur. They would never take that next step to figure out how they went to that next level. And I was just adamant about that I was going to take that next step for my family. And here I am. Sorry, I was a little long-winded
That's
there.
awesome. I love all of that. I was going to ask you, yes, I totally, relate to that story, 15 and pregnant as well. I probably had more support from my family, but I didn't live at home. I got married. Yeah. Which, crazy enough, we are actually pretty good friends today. Me and my ex, pretty good friends. But we did live on our own, and I didn't, live at home and all of that like you. So yeah, we had to do it. And I had the mindset that I was not going to be the stereotypical teenage mom. Like, I was really adamant about that. I remember that mindset. But I want to talk about women in your industry. So have you had to overcome a lot being a woman entrepreneur in your industry specifically?
Yes. So I love this part, and I get not tired of telling it. I'm sure people get tired of listening to me tell it, but this is what I tell people, that people didn't know how bad it was or how much it really is in the financial world to really try to have a woman. They step into my office all the time or say, I want to speak to the owner, or a guy will be one of my loan officers will be helping them, and they'll be like, oh, okay, you're his assistant, or you're this. So when I was 38, 39, my grandson was about 1 or 2, and I was a young grandma because, of course, I was a young mom, and my daughter she did wait till she was 20, though, so thank goodness. She didn't put me through what I put my parents through, but she did wait till she was 20, but she was a younger mom, too. And I was at a networking meeting. And when I was at the networking meeting, I was just really having a really bad day and really trying to figure out how I'm going to break through. It was probably my first year on my own and my first year owning my own company. And I was in a circle with a whole bunch of seniors. And can I say probably 20, anywhere from 10 to 20 years my senior then at that time, white male mostly, and in the banker field and at a networking meeting. And I just really said, I'm going to break through. Like, how am I going to talk to these people where they'll listen? And I just wasn't getting anywhere. And I told my best friend at the time, I said, do I got to wear like a bonnet or some flowered dresses, or what do I got to look like that's going to make me look different than this young, executive girl who thinks she knows something, who just opened her company, and they're looking at me like I'm just this, young teeny bopper, just started in the business when I actually owned my own company and I was actually doing fairly well. And I was just sitting there talking, and I said, my phone rang, and I said, I'm going to have to cut this short and go pick up my grandson. And everybody looked at me like, your grandson? How long have you been in the mortgage business? And at that time, I'd been in the mortgage business about 12, 13 years. And they were like, oh, so you've been around a while. And I was like, yeah. And then, so I call it my grandma card, because when I started teaching, I started doing my education, I open up my stories about my grandson, which he's traveled the world with me. He was pretty much my road dog for like 15 years, and everybody watched him grow up on social media with me. So I pulled a grandma card, and that immediately demanded respect. It got me, people opened up their ears. People listened to me a little differently. So I kind of employ that in a little bit of everything that I do, which is odd. Now that I'm 25 years in and I've owned my own company for 15 years, I don't have to, but I find myself reverting back to that a lot of times too as well. So women in my industry now, I'm really become a pretty big mentor to a lot of females that are been in the business 5 years, 10 years, some just getting in and understanding what it is now to be accepted to do what we do and not really having to feel like they have to make that breakthrough. So part of that is, like you said earlier, stepping out of our comfort zone. What do we have to do? And I really stepped out of my comfort zone. And from that point on, everybody's like, well, what are you going to be called? Like, you know, for my grandson, it's a grandma. So we'd be in the stories at grandma and everybody just turns around and looks and like, that's not your grandson. You know, they still do. Now he's almost 6 foot and I'm 5'6". So, and they still look back and think he's my son. So, but then vacationing. So I don't know as far as other women in our industry, what they feel like, you know, and how they burden a little bit that we don't measure up. I call it the dude theory in our business, where I feel like the dudes have a little bit less emotional attachment to their customer, you know? So maybe a little slight more salesy, some of them, and maybe a slight more detachment, where the females have that more of attachment, wanting to fix it, wanting to help, wanting to educate. So that part, the dude theory was getting me then because I couldn't kind of cut things off and I couldn't figure out how to incorporate my education with my business, you know, and that to be acceptable and not like frowned upon, that I was really trying to make a big impression or that I was really trying to, you know, keep up with the Joneses as far as the guys go. So there's a lot of women in my path and some of my, you know, mentors and coaches and different people who have really led a different path than I have and different breakthroughs. For me, I felt like it was extremely hard in the Hampton Roads area. 90% of people, and even still now, there's not a lot of women-owned mortgage lenders or brokers in our area.
Yeah. Okay. So where do you see CMS growing to in the next, we'll say 5 years? What's that look like for you?
Well, for us, we expanded into a couple extra states this year. So we are in DC, North Carolina, and Florida now. So that's helped there. I want to get more millennials involved into the financial world. There is no bridge there for people to really get involved in the mortgage world unless you've already known someone or unless you have been in a position to where you've just researched the crap out of it and said, hey, I might want to do this. You know, we have to be licensed now. So the pre-licensing. So we are actually just doing a recruitment ad to put out there that we will pay for your education and pay for your licensing if you are serious about getting into the business. So expanding a little bit more on the millennial side, or even through the pandemic, someone who needs a career change.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, go ahead, KJ. Go ahead.
So was there anything that we have not asked you during this interview, Karina, that you would love for our listeners to know about you, your company, your life, a solution that you provide?
Well, I'd say too, on the business side, as far as the passionate side, is everybody needs to sit down with someone once or twice a year, look at your credit and look at your debt to income, to make sure you are on track for where you think your monthly household budget will be. When was the last time you actually did a household budget? I have one right here in my book that I still have written down. You know, some millennials will have it on their pad or their notes, but I still have a monthly budget that I feel like I need to go by to meet my needs and the company needs, and that we're on track. And that's not taught in school anymore. So how do you teach that? So I think that's important for every family to do. And then, of course, check your credit once a year. And then just me personally, I feel like I've had such great support from my peers. I have such a great team. I mean, such a great team. Most of my team has been with me now from 3 to 12 years. And in that, you know, my son joined me 5 years ago. He's changed the directory of where I am going with the company and helped push me forward to see some things that I wouldn't have seen for myself. So he's a big put. My daughter does all the accounting for the company now, some of the HR stuff. My sister's now helping me as an executive assistant. So my mom runs our errands, which my dad, who passed away 3 years ago, used to. So, I mean, so we really have a really family-oriented business. We've got 2 sisters that work here. My son opened up a title company a year and a half ago. He's got two different sets of sisters there. So, and we are a lot of women owned here. I mean, a lot of women owned. My best friend opened the processing company that we use, that all our processors work with. So, and I can tell you this, we've really made it a family affair. We've really taken it seriously into how we're going to serve the community. And we really want people to know that we are here to support them and we're here to help them.
That's wonderful.
I love
That's
it.
lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it.
definitely. So, thank you so much. This has been so good. We have some rapid fire questions that we like to ask everybody. Okay.
Okay,
So
I'm
in like,
ready.
you're ready. So like
I'm ready.
one or two sentences. Okay, Karina, what's on your nightstand
What's up at home?
at home?
Um, Glasses are everywhere. So I
Okay.
have a pair of glasses everywhere, and I sleep with an eye mask. In order to shut my brain off 10 years ago, I had to figure out how to stop having migraines and stop thinking about my files. And I sleep with an eye mask. So I have 2 different eye masks and glasses and a candle.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. A candle. I love that. Perfect. So, in 2 sentences, what advice would you give your younger self?
Do more.
Oh,
Do more. Even though I feel like I went outside the box, I would still take probably a few more chances than I did.
that's good. That's really good. So, what is the wisest thing you've ever heard anyone say?
The wisest thing I've ever heard anyone say. I say it's probably what I've got up in my wall. And I just talked about this on Facebook last night, is in my small break room here. And it's Maya Angelou saying is that people will never forget how you made them feel.
That's
I mean,
so
I
good.
think in business, but I take that in my personal life too, is that people will just never forget how you made them feel. They may forgive you, they may understand things you've gone through, they do this, but they're never going to forget how you made them feel.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, I agree.
So I have a feeling that, and I can attest to this, that anytime I've been in the presence of you, when I leave, I always feel good. So
Aw,
just so you know.
aw, that made my day.
Yeah, that's awesome. So listen, tell the listeners, because no one's viewing this. Tell the Simple Conversation listeners how they can get in contact with you, how they can follow you. Where are you on social media? What does that look like?
Well, and
Sure.
we will list all of that in our comments as well, but go ahead and tell them.
Okay, sure. So the easiest way is we did end up purchasing a domain last year. Thank goodness. It took me 10 years to get it back. cmsmortgage.com. So we shortened it a little bit to help with the social media presence. So cmsmortgage.com, you can find us, any one of our team members. Our phone number is 757-558-2603. And then my website is CarinaCarter.com, but you can find me on Facebook, Instagram under CMS Mortgage.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And listeners, we will put this in our show notes. So, Karina, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend this time with us and share about your life and about your business. And just so you know, we think you are amazing.
Yes.
I'm telling you, you ladies are a fresh breath of air. And on Saturday mornings, I'll just plop it on and I'll be like so in awe. So I'm so proud of you ladies. I'm very honored that you had me on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karina. Have the best day ever.
You too. You too. And a successful 2021 to both of you guys.
Yes, thank you. We received that, and the same to you.
Hey, you guys, we just want to say thank you today. We want to thank our listeners and those of you that have subscribed to the Simple Conversations podcast. We want to thank our sound and production team for all of their hard work behind the scenes. That would be Tim and Alyssa Ranker. And we also want to give a big shout out to CMS Mortgage Solutions and our friend Corrina Carter, because without her, it would be really challenging for us to make this podcast. So keep listening and share it with your friends. Thanks.
Hey y'all, this is KJ from Simple Conversations where grace meets strength. Thank y'all so much for listening and tuning in. If it weren't for y'all, there would be no reason for us to do this. Listen, we need your help. We need your support. So head on over to patreon.com/Simple Conversations and decide exactly how you want to be involved. For $5 a month, you would get access to behind the scenes content. For $25 a month, you would get that as well as a shout out on the podcast or fan input. As a supporter for $50 a month, you would get all that in the previous two tiers, as well as a one-time gift or book that Alice and I have read or are reading that we think would add value to your life. Or for $100 a month, we consider you family. You ever heard that before? That's friends that are so good that we consider you family. So you would get everything in the previous three tiers, as well as exclusive branded merchandise from Simple Conversations. So listen, our heart's desire is to do more and to be more. And so in order for us to do that, we need help. And so we're dependent on you to help us make that happen. So thanks for tuning in and thanks for your support. See y'all.